If your game has room for only one status effect, it's probably going to be poison. Poison's everywhere, not just in RPGs, though it's hard to find one without it, but also in tons of shooters, survival horror, platformers, strategy games, puzzle games, and even a party game or two. That's not an accident. Poison is super adaptable. It can fit all kinds of game mechanics inside, and it's flexible enough to cover tons of unique aesthetics and settings. Get out your star pendants and your antidotes. It's sooner rather than later. It's time to talk about poison. Purify your mind in a sea of knowledge, vast and smart. Be a real smart boy with today's sponsor, Skillshare. Skillshare is an online learning community with high-quality classes on a huge variety of topics: music, art, and design, business, marketing, and freelancing. Whether you want to dive into a new hobby, a new side hustle, or you're just looking for an edge in your work life, Skillshare can help you out with its classes led by industry pros and an active community to help cheer you on. I like this learning path on UI and UX design. Explore basic principles and tools. If you want to start improving your eye for UI design, check this one out. This series of classes helps you learn the lingo and the principles of what goes into improving the look and feel of your projects. They can help you take something of yours from looking kinda bad to actually looking pretty well put together. It's super quick, very informative, and is the perfect thing for getting started. If you're in the mood for something else, like creative writing, building a shop on Etsy, social media management, or even help in avoiding procrastination, click the link in the description to browse around and find the right classes for you. Join thousands of people learning on Skillshare by clicking the link below. The first 500 people to use my link will get a 1-month free trial of Skillshare. Thanks, Skillshare. Let's start things off with the mechanics of poison. The standard case for using poison is this: attack something early with poison and have their health whittle down over time. Poison is an investment. Pay a little now for a big payoff in the future, and that's a totally valid way of making poison work in a game. Slay the Spire is a roguelike deck builder with turn-based RPG-style combat, where you play cards to do moves. There are a zillion different styles of characters you could build, but one major archetype involves dealing as much poison as you can. In this game, poison stacks up, and how many stacks of poison you inflict determines how much HP a character loses at the start of their turn. It decays by 1 tick every turn, so building a little poison isn't a big deal. 1 or 2 stacks of poison on a character will hardly be noticed. If you stack 20 though, that's a lot of poison. 20 damage now, 19 next turn, 18 the next, and so on will melt even the toughest enemies. Building up that level of damage can take a while though, and of course you have to survive in the meantime. But it's a completely viable type of character build that can work especially great for high HP enemies, like most bosses. Seeing your poison build up and then getting to reap the dividends at the start of every turn automatically can be a fun type of engine to construct. It's nothing but a good time. But every rose has its thorn. The most common complaint about poison shows up when this style of poison as investment goes wrong. The payoff has to be worth the effort. Damage over time tools take a while to kick in, and if combat is over before it does, or if the damage is tiny, you'd be better off skipping the status effect and just punch them in the face instead. A bunch of Final Fantasy games run into this, where poison is a flat small percentage of overall HP damage. If there's no way to build up a ton of damage when the poison actually hits, the small amount of damage it does do can be pretty ignorable. For poison to feel worth pursuing, it has to either pay off big, or be so effortless to implement that doing an extra 2% of damage just feels like a little bonus tacked on to stuff you were already doing. If you're not going to have poison compound and build in the game's battle mechanics, consider tacking it onto other attacks as an add-on rather than treating it as something to be done as its own dedicated action. So that type of poison can be pretty basic. Let's get spicier. The effect doesn't have to be just a binary on or off thing. You can make it have a build-up, a progression, or multiple tiers. Monster Hunter is built around a boss-centric gameplay loop, where you get to go on long, drawn-out hunts against giant monsters. This seems like the ideal place to use poison, right? It almost seems like it could be overpowered. Weapons embedded with poison are very strong, but the game's poison system isn't as simple as that. Here, it's based around build-up. Status damage from weapons, tools, or traps builds an invisible bar, and when it's full, that's when the status effect strikes. It'll wear off over time, and you can do it all over again. But wait, next time, it'll take just a little bit longer. The monsters will slowly gain a resistance to the poison, and more damage will be needed to trigger the effect every time it wears off. Each monster has a unique threshold to get to, and a unique duration and effectiveness when it gets poisoned. The effect isn't nearly as uniform as it is in most games, where it's either there or it's not. It's a minor thing, but it contributes to the core of the game, making sure each monster feels like a crafted creature, fleshed out in detail from its attacks, behavior, movement, and yes, poison resistance. Poison may not always be your best option in Monster Hunter, but it might be. You'll have to figure that out yourself. Direct damage can be one aspect of poison, but you can also use the effect for other things. Bug Fables is one of the few games that lets you turn the core concept of poison on its head. Bug Fables characters can add several perks that work by strengthening a poison party member. Poison Attacker and Poison Defender boost those stats by 1 if you're afflicted. There's Reverse Toxin, which lets you heal while poisoned at the cost of 1 defense. Does that sound too situational though? How am I going to get poisoned often enough for that to work? Oh, don't worry, there are more medals for that. Weak Stomach poisons you every time you heal. Eternal Venom makes sure your poison never expires. You get to be a little sicko glass cannon forever. This game has loads of crazy synergy strats that you can roll out with these types of builds, which can even take out some super bosses with the right approach. I can't think of an RPG that gives you more of an incentive to poison yourself. Okay, let's get out of direct damage combat mechanics. It's pretty common to have a poison effect resolve itself when a fight is over, but you don't have to. A handful of games use the effect to do something outside of battle. Maybe it takes your health down while walking around. Pokemon springs to mind, where a sound effect plays and the screen gets wonky every few steps to let you know that there's still a problem with your HP. Running out of health here is just as bad as if it happened during a fight, so it's still a crisis for players to deal with. Chrono Cross did it without letting you know what was going on. A little icon in the corner lets you know something's up, but you have to be paying attention to your character details screen to see that every step you take is dropping your HP down to 1. If you didn't notice, you might start up the next fight in really bad shape. If your game doesn't do combat like an RPG, you still have options to look into. Think of it in more general terms. Poison as a crisis. Frequently, people think of video game poison as a chip damage problem, something players will have to deal with eventually. But poison doesn't have to take a backseat to anything. Spelunky 1 doesn't have poison, but oh man, Spelunky 2 does. As if there wasn't enough around to worry about, these things spring out of pots and such. Get scorpioned and every 30 seconds you'll lose a heart. I don't know about you, but I don't have a lot of hearts to spare, so this is a big problem. There are 2 major ways to fix it. Die and come back to life somehow, so that one's kinda hard. Or bring a pet to the end of a level, and they'll take 1 for the team. A curing elixir is very hard to get, and you can't just wait it out. This game's poison makes you act, quick and decisive, or else. It's a sudden timer thrown into the design mix, without literally being a timer. Poison can let you dial in the urgency of the problem to whatever level you want. You could make poison impact other stats besides health. Poison can instead be a cap on your ability. Castlevania uses it differently in the different games in the series, but in Symphony of the Night, poison doesn't do damage at all. Instead, poison makes you worse at everything. In combat, a poison out card will hit for half as much damage and take twice as much. It'll go away on its own, and you can speed up the process if your constitution is higher, but in the meantime, you might want to avoid combat as much as you can. The poison in Symphony of the Night won't kill you, but it might open you up so something else can. Okay, that's enough about combat. What can we do with poison as an element of the environment? Trek through this poisonous pool. Come on, do it. No? Yeah, I don't blame you. Poison can work as area denial, making a challenge out of taking routes around the gunk, finding a resistance against it, or maybe both. Hazy Maze Cave in Super Mario 64 uses poison as a tool for area denial. The haze in the hazy maze is a cloudy mess that will pretty quickly kill you on contact. There are a few things in the maze that you'll need to grab, but you don't really have much time to get them before the poison overtakes you. Your inability to deal with the poison maze is one of the things that points you towards unlocking the Metal Mario cap. You can apparently fight poison with heavy metals. Grab that, and you can walk through this thing no problem. This stuff isn't very tough to work around unless you're a kid, but the concept is there. Streets of Rage 4 has a few stages that feature toxic barrels and glass vials that will leave a pool of acid that damages friend and foe alike. Blaze? Blaze. Blaze, please get off of there. You have to watch your step, but you can kite enemies onto it. These types of surprise environmental hazards are often not much of a problem in isolation. You could tank the hits and run straight through. Once you're focused on some other combat action though, their impact can sneak up on you. Enemies that leave pools of acid like the Spitter in Left 4 Dead can create some dangerous situations. If you're caught in a pool at the wrong time, like if you're held up by a horde or pinned by another special infected, the pool can easily take you down to zero without a little help from your friends. None of these mechanics have to act alone. Poison can be an area denial tool and a cap on ability, a combo synergy tool, and an investment. A game can do it all at once. Hades did. Hades has a couple kinds of poison. The first is Hangover, which is tied to many of Dionysus' boons, and so is really only done by you to mobs. Hangover applies damage every half second to anything afflicted by it, and it can stack. Every stack boosts the damage and lasts for 4 seconds, an eternity in Hades combat time. You can apply Hangover onto whatever attacks you have, and it can be great when used as a set it and forget it option. Tag enemies with it and go do something else, and the Hangover can finish the job for you. On sturdier enemies, the Hangover stacks will help melt down their HP. As with the other effects in Hades, this one only gets more potent with more boons. Hangover builds can get crazy. You can get a damage boost when multiple enemies are hungover at once, it can make everyone with it slow down, and you can even have enemies spread Hangover to their friends by themselves. Synergize with some other moves like Dionysus' Festive Fog to increase the poison damage, and your DPS will skyrocket. Your enemies might not be able to use Hangover, but they've got their own tricks. Poison is a hazard in the 4th and final region of any run, the Temple of Styx. The rooms in here are tiny and cramped, which lets the satyrs and rats leave pools of poison and shoot poison darts that are very tough to avoid. The Styx poison will absolutely melt you, turning your screen bright green and wrecking your health bar until you cure it at the convenient Mandragora curing pools located in each room. Styx poison acts fast though, so race for that pool before it's too late. The threat of poison down here makes the entire Temple of Styx super fast, even by Hades standards. You're going to have to design some fast-acting and powerful builds to be able to get through before the poison gets to you. The level design and nature of the poison work together to change the feel of combat entirely, creating one final bar to clear before the finale. These mechanics are cool, but that's still not all you can do. Forget all the mechanics. You can build poison into your game's aesthetic. Locations, for one. Whole locations are easily built around some aspect of poison. Mario Odyssey has a fun one. Check into a primeval jungle forest officially, I guess. I guess it's a rainforest. A deep wilderness filled with bright creatures. Oh, they're going for a bright means poison animal thing, aren't they? Yep. And if that didn't tip you off, the ocean full of one-hit KO poison should do it. The poison gives the area a specific flavor, distinct from even the earlier natural areas like the Cascade Kingdom and the Wooded Kingdom. The series has had other poison water themes before, like in New Super Mario Bros., but I like the look of this one a little more. The deep purple works as a striking backdrop, and takes this from a jungle to a fungal. The poison helps make it look good. There. Sonic games don't really linger on poison directly, but there are plenty of zones that deal with a sort of 90s environmentalism style pollution threat instead. Chemical Plant Zone and Planet Wisp are all about Eggman just trashing the natural beauty of an environment with an industrial plant. Sonic Mania approaches the theme a bit more directly with its reimagining of Oil Ocean Zone. Located on a massive oil refinery, the gimmick of Act 2 has you trek through the most polluted parts of the zone, running through a buildup of suffocating smog. The stage pressures you to find and use release valves to vent the smog out before it builds up too much and drains your ring count. Let's get out of locations. What about character design? There's plenty you can do with poison here too. Pokemon is the family-friendly king of exploring poison as an aesthetic. The entire poison type is filled with an assortment of associations. Lots of poisonous animals, dart frogs, snakes and cobras, bugs, more bugs, bugs of all kinds. The worst thing you could step on underwater, the worst thing to touch underwater, skunks if you get a little abstract with the idea of poison. They've got poisonous flora, a sting plant, some ivy, thorny roses, pitcher plants, there's a couple of weird mushrooms. We've got industry, from toxic sludge to a larger glob of toxic sludge to a glob with an oil spill on it. We've got literal garbage Pokemon, 2 of them. We've got societal toxins like, rock and roll music, I guess, but not Kiss. That's just dark. And this happy little fella is some kind of toxic sea mine with a skull and crossbones, who evolves into... might want to get that looked at. The Galarian version evokes the spirit of Victorian England. How quaint. Don't breathe that in. If there was a studio that could be called the masters of poison though, it's Fromsoft. No one has embraced poison as a mechanic and an aesthetic more fully than they have. Their games often feature multiple tiers under different names. Toxic, slow and fast poison, plague. The original Demon's Souls version sneaks up on you, building on a hidden meter. You might not know you're in danger until it's too late. But they've also mastered poison as an aesthetic. Beyond just the foreboding deterioration that comes out of every corner of their game worlds, the bulk of their RPGs have at least one major area themed on decay, disease, and rot, if not straight up poison itself. You want a gross shantytown? Here you go. It's not a Fromsoft game without a poison swamp. Whether it's, let me check the name here, the Valley of Defilement, Blight Town, the Gutter, or Fair Keep, these areas get filled with poison pools, toxic abominations, and crumbling footholds on cliffs. But Elden Ring puts the rest to shame with their most aggressive toxic locations yet, the Lake of Rot and Caelid. Everyone loves Caelid, except the people living in Caelid. Fromsoft invented a totally new kind of horrible mess with Scarlet Rot. It's visually distinct, horribly lethal if you catch it at the wrong time since it does damage as a percentage, and it's deeply tied into the lore. A curse that is slowly spreading across the landscape. Look at what it's already done to Caelid. Now imagine that, but inside you. Ugh. Yeah, some players might complain about how oppressive these places feel, and maybe the theme is a little overdone coming from that studio, but they're really good at it. There's a reason this is such a famous part of Fromsoft games. There's plenty to explore in the rotten, horrific, and evil nature of poison as an element. And Fromsoft is great at creating memorable moments within those bounds. These places don't have to be positive to be well designed. There's more to talk about, but let's leave it there. Head to the comments and give me your greatest poison systems in games. I didn't talk about Divinity Original Sin or Dead Cells in here. Those two can kick off a pretty good discussion. Poison is versatile. It can be way more than just a chip damage status effect if you let it. From mechanics to aesthetics, it can burn in some character to a bland location, and it's wide-ranging enough to give you plenty of options to work with. Fold it in as deep as you can, and your game might gain a deadly charm.